Welcome to MasterMind Minutes, the podcast that focuses on the franchise industry. We'll cover topics that are important to franchisees as well as franchisors and share interesting insights that will help you build your business. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we do this in minutes, not hours. Good morning again, and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name's Gary Occhigrosso. I am the managing partner and founder of Franchise Growth Solutions and the publisher of FranchiseMoneymaker.com. And for those of you new to the program, MasterMind Minutes is a very simple concept. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we get one expert answer on a topic. We do it in minutes, typically under 20-25 minutes. Doesn't take hours to get to this. We also realize that that's typically not enough time to get really deep into the conversation. So at the end of the program, we'll be happy to give you contact information for our guest, and you can reach out and learn more about him, the company, and any other questions you might have. And today, my guest is actually one of the Franchise Growth Solutions clients, Jamie Marozzi. He is the Chief Operating Officer with LocOhana Tropical Grill. And as one of the original founders of the concept, he brings over 14 years of restaurant experience in various roles from back of the house all the way on up to business development and marketing in the food service industry. For over a decade, he has executed on his entrepreneurial spirit and continues to grow companies not only as his purpose, but also his passion. It's what he loves to do. He founded LocOhana Tropical Grill in 2023. Again, as I mentioned, it's a client of Franchise Growth Solutions, so we worked with him in getting this concept ready for franchise. But it was originally started as Biggie's Beach Grill back in 2015, and we'll talk about that in a minute in the name change. It's one of the most successful restaurants in the resort town on the island, Long Beach Island, on the New Jersey shore. And now he and his family have decided to expand it through franchising and make it an opportunity so that other folks can really take advantage of this. He's also founded a company back in 2010 called Bayview Canvas. We'll talk about that. So it just sort of underscores Jamie's sort of entrepreneurial journey here. And on a personal note, he is a husband and a father of two boys. He's an active guy. He has a passion for traveling. And as you might imagine, particularly in tropical islands, which is where the LocOhana concept really sort of has its influences. So Jamie, thank you for being with us today. I truly appreciate your time. We talk a lot about things, but we don't always get a chance to just talk about you and about LocOhana in this format. So thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more before we get into the question. Tell us a little bit more about you, maybe about your early beginnings in the restaurant business and sort of where you're at now. Like, what are you doing now, meaning today, with your businesses?
Sure. So like you had alluded to earlier, I've been working in restaurants since I was a teenager. Worked in a really cool little Mexican joint over here in the LBI area, slinging tacos and burritos and doing all that kind of fun stuff on the line. So I kind of grew up in that. Simultaneously, I always worked for my dad, who had started Bayview Canvas, which was a custom boat cover company. So we did covers and enclosures and all kinds of good stuff for boats, cushions, and that was kind of my day job, so to speak. And I kind of worked that and restaurants as I was growing up in the summers. Went away to college, got a degree that I realized I couldn't do a whole lot with. I got a psych degree, and that's been super helpful in my business endeavors. But I quickly realized that unless I was gonna be a therapist or a psychiatrist and go back to school and do all that, that maybe that wasn't the course for me. So 2010, I was finishing up college, and I had been working the canvas business. And I took that over full time, and we really, when I had taken that over, I had a vision to really take that off and expand it and grow it, and we did that. We really made a successful company out of it. And in the meantime, I'd always kind of been looking for looking for other avenues, always never compliant, never satisfied, always happy but never satisfied. And I 2015, I actually got, it was funny, I got a Facebook notification today. It was our first ever post from Biggie's Beach Grill, and it was our signage that we had put up exactly 9 years ago to the day that we first put up our signs saying Biggie's Beach Grill coming soon.
Wow.
So yeah, so Biggie's was kind of it was a collaboration between me and my original business partner, and really what it was we wanted to kind of share our vision of what we loved, and kind of bring something new to LBI. And we set out to do that. Really, our goal at the time was we want to have the best fish tacos on LBI. And so 2015, we launched Biggie's Beach Grill. And it certainly it took a little bit to get going. But once it did, it's been great, and it's been 9 years, 9 years solid. And really, Biggie's was we really wanted to take that island vibe, right? Not necessarily LBI island vibe, but more of a tropical island vibe, and have some reggae music playing, and just kind of put out beautiful, creative, tropical types of food.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so Biggie's really started as our menu has morphed so much since the beginning, and it was really kind of trial and error.
Yep.
At first we were kind of afraid to take that leap into going fully tropical, and we tried to be a little bit like Long Beach Island and serve, fried seafood and fried shrimp and scallops, and we kind of tried to fit in a little bit too much, I think, in the beginning.
Yep.
And
Yep. I
then
hear you.
yeah, then we kept kind of morphing and evolving. And once my brother-in-law became my business partner, Mike, and the rest of my family, that's when we really saw it take off. And yeah, we really just kind of dove headfirst into that tropical style, and we call it um, tropical fusion restaurant. So
Yep.
that's really what we've tried to do there, is take flavors from the Caribbean and Hawaii and Mexico and America, and blend them all together, and
All right, I'm going to jump in, Jamie. I'm going to jump in. I don't want you to get ahead of me here now on the question, okay?
sure.
But I appreciate all of that. I know the audience does. It's interesting because when you talk about, earlier in your bio, it talks about, your love for travel and the tropical islands, and, bringing those flavors. And by the way, I mean, I've been there. The food is great. The vibe is
Thank you.
great. You've really recreated sort of that. I mean, it's kind of like being on vacation, so to speak. It's kind of a, it definitely has that vibe. I I think, one of the things that, and the question that we have today really is, in what you just said almost makes it sound like it was sort of this seamless evolution, but I know it wasn't, okay? It never is always sort of ups and downs. So what, launching, and I think there's two pieces here. There's, you know, what are some of what was some of the challenges in launching a new concept and building a business? But then the other piece to that question is, and we'll take them separately so you don't feel like you have to answer them both at the same time. But the other piece is, what were the challenges then taking that successful concept and franchising it and launching it as a franchise? So why don't we start with, you know, Biggie's, now LocOhana, been around 9 years. If you can think back 9 years, what was some of the early challenges that you were faced when you launched a business? Again, I'm familiar with LBI, Long Beach Island, a lot of competition, a lot of loyalty. People go there for vacation every year, and they probably go to the same restaurants every year. How did you manage to sort of break in and disrupt people's habits and create a new concept on the island?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Long Beach Island is very niche, if you will. Um, you know, people who come down there. I mean, first challenge is it's a resort area, like you said. So we're seasonal. That means we have maybe 3 months to make all the money that we have to make for the 12-month year. So that's the first challenge is especially your first couple years is you gotta have the sales to stay afloat. That's why you see so many restaurants come and go on the island. If you don't really take off after those first couple of years, you're done. You're out.
Yep.
So
Capital is always capital. A lack of capital is always
that's
an issue
it.
when people launch a restaurant.
That's it. So yeah, I mean, Long Beach Island, what it is, most of the time, it's vacation families who are coming down. Some of them come down every summer, right? Some of them are brand new. They've come down one time, and they're going to find those restaurants that they think are good, and those are the ones they're going to go to that week. So really the challenge was kind of pulling people away from what they knew and loved already, right? And there's so many great restaurants on the island that I don't blame people for not really wanting to leave. So really, I mean, we kind of had a creative approach to it where we launched, and we had an article written about us in the Sandpapers, the local newspaper. And I mean, I remember days of just walking down the boulevard handing out flyers. Come try us, come try us, come try. We would stand on the in a parking lot waving like an American flag, trying to get people over on Memorial Day. Um so really just getting people in there to try our food. We believed in our concept. We believed in our food and the vibe. So we had a feeling that once we got people in there, we could make them happy. We just had to get them in there.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I will say that, when you're launching a business, I think the biggest difference between success and failure is what I call, going the last mile. So when you're talking about marketing by handing out menus or flyers or, standing out in front of your restaurant, with banners and flags trying to get folks to come on in, that's what it takes. That's the
100%.
difference between success and failure.
Hmm.
That's what most entrepreneurs or people who want to start a business, that's what they don't really understand. They don't really understand the amount of work and, the term blood, sweat, and tears that actually goes in to be successful. So I commend you
100%.
on that. How many seasons did you go before you started to get folks to like come back and like I call it getting on their radar, where you're sort of in,
Sure.
yeah, how many seasons?
Uh, I would say probably took about 2 or 3 seasons. We really did try to focus. There is a local crowd, so to speak, of the guys who live on LBI, grow up on LBI, and live there year round. So we did really want to get those guys in there, and we did that pretty successfully. There was a marina right across the street from us with a condo association, and we were giving those guys discounts in the beginning just to get them coming back.
Sure,
So
sure.
Shelter Harbor was the name of the condo association, and the um and the marina over there. So we would give them their Shelter Harbor discount, and that was probably our most repetitive customer, was
Well,
these
that's
guys who could just walk right across the street.
that's the I would say the brilliance of that is that you tapped into the local influencers. And I'm not talking about the digital influencers, but the influencers who are in real live situations in your market who could spread the word.
Yep.
Who people maybe trusted in the market, because in your market it's vacationers, but then there are people who live there. So the folks who live there probably carry some more influence than the vacationers. I have a place on the island just north of LBI. It doesn't really have a name. We call it Island. Island State Park is there. And it's the same thing. People go to the
Yep.
same restaurants all the time, and it's hard to break in. So now you got this successful restaurant. By the way, I think it's great. to be able to work 3 or 4 months a year. And I realize there's some setup time and shutdown time, so I'm going to call it 4 months, not 3 months. But I think it's great if you could do that and make money to live on all year.
Sure.
That's like super. When did the idea of taking what you had, like, what was the aha moment, if there was an aha moment where you said, wow, this is successful, we can take this to other places, maybe up and down the Jersey Shore, up and down the East Coast, or maybe take it inland and bring this whole island vibe off the Atlantic Ocean and inland a little bit to towns where they don't have this vibe? What was sort of the evolution of that idea?
Sure. So, really, just to kind of touch back just a half a second here was, um, we started really realizing that we had something special. And you hate to say it, but when you get online reviews, you know this as well as I do, online reviews can make or break you. And we were absolutely crushing it with our online reviews. We held 5 stars on Yelp for years, and that was a huge part of saying, I think we might have something here. And just kind of as we developed our brand a little bit more and really honed in on who we were, and we realized that this was a pretty marketable, brandable business that we could see doing well everywhere. I think we had always envisioned, let's hit all these shore towns along the East Coast, and that could probably be how you expand. But I really think that we see this in any type of town that enjoys good, creative, beautiful food. We have a lot of pride in how pretty our food is. Um, so when we saw that, we saw a somewhat simplified menu of what we think we could put anywhere and it still be successful. That's kind of where we said, you know what, like I think based on the feedback we're getting, based on our processes of it not being, a really fancy sit down place that's going to have all kinds of intricacies and ins and outs of making things complex. We really saw like the Chipotle model, the Bubba Coos model, the some of these other places where you get your food in we might not be as fast as some of those guys, but we like to believe that we could get it out to you in 15 to 20 minutes, and it's a fresh, delicious meal. And once we kind of honed in on our processes, our standard operating procedures, that's when we said, really over the last couple of years, hey, let's share this with the world, because I think people will love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for those of you just joined us, we're talking with Jamie Marozzi, who's the Chief Operating Officer of LocOhana Tropical Grill, a new franchise that Franchise Growth Solutions is helping to launch. And I think what you just said with respect to, branding it and understanding, is this something that, as we say in the business, has legs? That's really, there's a couple of steps when you want to take your business and franchise your business. And when I say steps of realization, things that you need to think about and say, okay, can we check off a couple of boxes? So obviously the first one is, do people like what we're doing? Well, if you're getting 5-star reviews all over Yelp, then obviously yes. The other piece is it profitable? Yes. Um, is it simple to operate? I think you check that box. And is what you're doing have some significant points of differentiation? By the way, I think you perfectly described the food when you say it's pretty. It is pretty. It also tastes great, but it is pretty. And I think a lot of the points of differentiation on the food side, I think as a concept, it's really the vibe. It's really the idea that you're sort of transported into this island or tropical sort of environment, which really says a lot. And you're not going into a big box restaurant where you're going to invest an hour and a half and drop 60 or $70. You're doing it in a fast casual space, which I don't think anyone is doing right now, which is what attracted us to the brand. So I think that's a very unique point of differentiation. The idea that it's simple to operate and has a low cost of entry. I don't want to make this sound like a pitch to sell a franchise, but I think all of those things are what any entrepreneur or any restaurateur who launches a restaurant who's thinking about franchising it, I think you have to be thinking about all of that stuff. So on the food side now, I know you've been in the restaurant business for a long time, but I just want to spend a minute or two on your partner, on Michael, who is your brother-in-law, right? And
Yes,
I before we do that, maybe we want to explain what LocOhana is and what it means, and then we'll talk about like
sure.
how you got from Biggie's to LocOhana, why. But tell us, I know the meaning of it. What is LocOhana, and why did you use that name?
So LocOhana, basically what it is, it's two words combined from two different languages. Loco is in Spanish is crazy. Ohana in Hawaiian is family. And when you get to know me and my family, crazy family is pretty spot on as to who we are. We're a big crazy family with a lot of kids and grandkids, and it perfectly describes us. And really being able to take two words from two of the cultures that have such an influence on our restaurant, it was kind of a perfect marriage there when we realized that we weren't going to be able to brand to trademark Biggies, um, which is a whole other process. Um, so yeah, when and we really actually we liked it almost more. I think it was a blessing in disguise because it ended up when we looked at it, we see the word and we see our logo with it. It just looks like a brand. It really kind of it sounds like one, it looks like one, and it kind of tells more of a story, I think.
I agree. I agree. I think, it's interesting because you said it was kind of a blessing in disguise. So just for the sake of the audience who doesn't know the whole backstory. So the
Yeah,
original brand that you launched 9 years ago on Long Beach Island in New Jersey is Biggie's Beach Grill. It's kind of cool, it's kind of cool, but you're right. It doesn't really speak to whatever other than it's a beach grill.
yeah,
LocOhana, on the other hand, number one, it's not like really a word. So
right.
you own it. Okay. So you
Yes,
own it. That's great. And yes, it describes you and your family. And we didn't talk about Mike's involvement at this point, but we will.
we'll get there.
I think, from a logistics point of view, what I just want to quickly explain, I don't want to get into the minutia of this, but when we went to trademark Biggie's Beach Grill, because now we were franchising the concept, so we needed not only a name that you can get an LLC for, but we needed a name that we could actually get a trademark for. Jamie and Mike found out they couldn't trademark Biggie's Beach Grill. So back and forth with attorneys. Again, I don't want to go through all of that story.
Never again.
But I think you said it perfectly when you said it was a blessing in disguise because LocOhana, I think, is a way better name. The logo is cool. Everything about the name, the logo, Tropical Grill speaks to the concept. I don't really need to know a lot more about it because the name,
Got it.
what it says it all. So just tell me, how did you get connected in the business side of it with Mike, who is actually the CEO of the company and really on the chef side? A lot of what you guys serve like comes out of his head. How did that
100%.
how did that all happen?
Yeah, so Mike, obviously Mike's my brother-in-law. So I got married, gosh, in 2012, and obviously adopted all of my wife's side of the family as well. And Mike's background, he was working in restaurants. He was actually working in some really higher echelon restaurants, so to
Mhm.
speak. Doing like fine French cuisine. So his background was great. I know he went to culinary school, and really my original business partner, when he uh, decided that he was going to have to leave after a couple of years for some personal stuff. We were really looking for someone to fill his shoes, and Mike, my brother-in-law, came on as head chef, and boom, right away, his impact was felt. It really elevated us. It took us to the next level. He came in and really a lot of it was changing some of the process in the kitchen, and just kind of the way the things were running there. He tweaked the menu and added his own spin and flavors and items. And since him and my mother-in-law and father-in-law came on, it's really helped transform the restaurant and help us ascend to the next level. And without them, we wouldn't have what we have now. So he's still the head chef in there. He's running the show. He's the brains behind the operation right now, just really getting the flagship store where we want it to be. Like you said, we're getting ready to open here in the next month or so, and so it's crazy time for us. But he's Mike's really Mike's kind of the heart and soul of that restaurant right now. So yeah, he's been instrumental in overseeing. And then Dawn and Mike, who's Dawn's my mother-in-law, Mike's my father-in-law. They're obviously a huge part of it. Dawn grew up in restaurants. She deals with a lot of the financials for us and the bookkeeping. Her bookkeeping is like she's still paper and pencil, man. She's making sure every penny's accounted for, and she's really on top of it. And then Mike's kind of the glue that holds us all together. He was a Navy vet for 25 years, and he's really kind of the backbone of our family,
That's great.
and they hold us all together, man. Now
Well,
we're crazy, but it's a good family.
well, look, it sounds like it is a family affair, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. I think as a franchise brand, certainly franchisees that come on early I always believe it's an added advantage of working directly with the founders of the company and the people who are here. I don't want to underscore, yeah, Mike's in that kitchen, but Mike is in that kitchen not because as an operator you need to be a chef, but because as a chef, Mike is simplified and has simplified operations where virtually anyone, even
Yes,
folks who don't have a food service background, can operate this, and the menu's nice and tight. So I guess from a last insights point of view, because we'll have to have you back on, and maybe we'll do something remote from from the restaurant once you
that'd be
open
awesome.
summer. That would be kind of awesome. Um, but maybe as a last insight, just in terms of launching a franchise brand, if you had to speak to someone who said, "Hey, Jamie, what should I know about? Like, what should I watch out for? What's like the maybe the one top two or three things that you would say, well, watch out for this or look at this." What would that be?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to give you a shameless plug here. Get yourself a franchise growth solutions, man, because
Okay, great.
uh, honestly, without you guys, we would have no idea what we're doing. That's just being honest, man. There's so much that goes into it. Uh, from really kind of, I think one of the biggest things is getting a standard operating procedure. If you're a fly by night kind of guy and or gal, and you just kind of in your head, how your restaurant runs
Yep.
or your company runs, but you don't have that process from open to close. If you don't have that, you got nothing. You just got something that how to run. You are your business. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Obviously, profitability I think is huge. You gotta be making money to otherwise nobody's gonna want to buy something that's not making money, right? Um,
Exactly.
but having something you believe in, and having something that isn't overcomplicated. I think that was kind of one of the biggest things we found was simpler the better. It's great to have all a giant menu with all kinds of cool stuff on it, but at the end of the day, if you have to bring 1,000 ingredients in, it's going to be really hard for somebody else to duplicate that in a different location.
Yep.
Um,
I
and
hear
then
you.
kind of alluding to what we talked about before. Make sure you can trademark your company because
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's a long process.
so what I'm hearing is, and by the way, thank you for the kind words. So what I'm hearing is, if I'm going to just sum that up in a couple of words, first of all, you have to know what you don't know, and obviously, you guys know the restaurant business inside and out. But the franchising business is a different business. And for those people who are franchising their business, it's sort of a bridge to cross. So to say, "Hey, okay, I'm no longer in the restaurant business, I'm in the restaurant system business." So that's the first thing. The second thing you said,
That's it.
I couldn't agree with more. You need to have that system. Otherwise, basically, you just have a job. You're going to be a slave to your business. You're not in a situation where you can create repeatable procedures that you can duplicate over and over again. So understanding and then a system, simplicity of operation, which you said, I mean, that is key. If it's too complicated, it's just not going to work. And then, of course, doing some homework in terms of things like trademarks and how do you franchise a business legally and that sort of stuff. That's all lawyer stuff, but should be thought about up front. So, good last insights. Jamie, if somebody wants to know more about LocOhana or reach out to you or like, what's the best way? I mean, I know, but tell the audience the best way to get in touch with you.
Yep, check us out on LocOhanaFranchise.com. You can kind of read a little bit about the franchise and there's a form where you can fill out some information and we can get back to you. Obviously, Gary will be helping out with that. Um, but yeah, all of our information is on there. You can contact us that way, and come check us out in the summers when we open up the flagship store here. One last thing, Gary, if I may, for anyone who does know our current restaurant as Biggie's Beach Grill, we are in the process of changing the name over officially to LocOhana Tropical Grill. So don't fear. We are the same place, same food, same menu, same ingredients, same family, same everything, just a different name so we can kind of share this thing with the world. Um, so that's what I would leave it at. If people need my personal contact information, I'd be happy to give that out as well.
Okay, so no, no, we don't want you to get inundated. If you do you have an email address you want to share? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Sure. It's you can do info at locohanafranchise.com.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Yeah, info at what'd you say?
Info at locohanafranchise.com.
Great, excellent. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you for being here. I definitely think that we should do something in the summer and explore the transition from Biggie's to LocOhana because I think that's an interesting topic. But thank you for being here. Look forward to working with you and Mike and the rest of the family in getting this really launched and units everywhere. So
Awesome.
thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.